next question is, with the Obama administration leaning toward an agreement with the United Nations on a small arms treaty, basically enforcing a ban on our guns, how would you fight for our gun rights, and would you support your state legislatures in exercising the 10th Amendment to allow Oklahoma to manufacture, sell, and regulate our own gun laws in Oklahoma? Now, start with Dakota Wood.
I'm opposed to that treaty, familiar with it, and it's not a good deal for the United States. There is an underlying agenda where you're trying to regulate the sale and transfer and ownership, and ultimately the registration of all small arms. It's a global movement that's going on. It's backed by Soros and some other folks. And again, treaties are confirmed or approved by the Senate. The House doesn't get into that. And certainly as an elected representative of the government, you do have a voice. You can carry the voice of the folks that sent you to office in a lot of different forms, against that bully pulpit that I mentioned earlier. So I would be against a strong 10th Amendment advocate in across a variety of things, not just what you're talking about here. And I'm a strong pro-gun Second Amendment guy. I believe that the Second Amendment really reflects the relationship between the government and the governed. That it is not the place of the federal government to dictate to people how, when, and why they can defend themselves or to provide for their family. So again, it's a relationship. When seconds count, police are only minutes away. It's an inherent right of self-defense that people should be able to be on. So it is all related. There are different layers on that. The 10th Amendment, states' rights, self-determination among the people within the collected states, the individual right to protect oneself and provide for the family I'm an advocate of. And I am not in favor of the United States ceding any authorities whatsoever that should be held within the Constitution to any other international body. So I would be against.
Thank you. Dustin Rowe.
Excellent question. I don't think we have to get to the 10th Amendment because I think the Second Amendment kills this issue before it ever begins. Let's talk about the amendments. What does the Second Amendment say? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. We have a right in America to own a gun. Whatever you want to use it for, it's your right. So if the president wants to sign into a treaty to restrict our right to keep and bear arms, it would be unconstitutional. The court would have to strike it down. If Congress passed a law that said you can't own a firearm for this purpose or for that purpose, it would be unconstitutional. Again, the Second Amendment protects that right. I don't care what source the law is, it's unconstitutional. You mentioned in your question the 10th Amendment, and I want to touch briefly on that. The 10th Amendment says, all rights not specifically enumerated to the federal government are herein reserved to the states. That is such an important amendment to our country right now. Why is it important? Because we have a federal government growing at a rate we've never seen before, expanding its powers at a rate never seen before, and we know that the federal government is limited. Its scope is outlined in Article 1, 2, and 3. I've talked a little bit, Article 1, Section 8, of what the Congress's powers are. So unless the Congress has a specific power, and if it's not mentioned, the states have that power. Because our founding fathers intended, Representative, that the state legislatures where our lives would be regulated and controlled. We believe in this country in strong states' rights, and strong local government control. We don't want our lives regulated from Washington, D.C. And that's why we have the 10th Amendment. So, to answer your question, the Second Amendment is going to prevent that from ever getting to a 10th Amendment argument. We have the right to bear arms, but we do need to begin enforcing our states' rights. We do need to scale back the size and scope of the federal government and allow us to have strong states and local governments in America. That's where our lives should be governed.
Thank you. Next is Wayne Pettigrew.
I have a book that I've read before. It's called The South Was Right. It has nothing to do with slavery, but it has everything to do with states' rights. And we lost a lot of our states' rights at the end of the Civil War when some of the amendments were enacted. And I think this is kind of the root cause of this a little bit. I know I don't support those treaties. I don't support giving any of our rights away in treaties or doing that with the United Nations as well. But Dustin's absolutely right. The Second Amendment prevents this from even coming into play. I think we've got the bigger problem here, to me, is why is this administration pressing forward with treaties like this. And obviously, to me, it tells me that there's an anti-American sentiment in this administration that we've always known was there, and it is a real danger that I see in a second term from Barack Hussein Obama. And a lot of us have seen that for a long time. A lot of us question even demand citizenship. We can go there with this question. But you see these infringements and where they're coming and how they're destroying our country, and it's obvious that there's an agenda here that goes way beyond one nation. Thank you very much.
I'd like to hear someone just give a strong argument why we should even be in the UN. I mean, I'm going to listen. I just like to sit down and listen. Convince me why we should even be there. You know, and Dustin's spot on. All these guys are spot on. But here's my question. Everything they've said about the Second Amendment, the 10th Amendment, I'm in full agreement. I'm in full agreement with what Dakota's talking about, not, in any type of control you in. But here's the thing, though. If they enforce it, are they going to enforce it? I'm not 100% convinced they will. We got some real issues. We got some people that's going in and holding their hand up and then turning around and doing something different. We got people claiming to believe one thing and going for it and voting another. No, we've got some real issues. Folks, we're addressing all the symptoms. We're not addressing the root issues. Do we have people in place that have enough integrity in their being to do what they say they're going to do? Are they going to vote if we have, our government is supposed to protect us. I'm not convinced with present leadership that would necessarily take place. They are supposed to protect us against how in the world does a group of nations try to tell us to do anything? Why would one of our leaders even entertain that thought? Some type of statement about halfway out someone's mouth about this is what the U.S. is going to do stops right there. No, we're going to do what we the people say we're going to do. We have a Constitution. We have our laws. We have our nation. We have our country. And no other country or organization has any type of right, power, or ability to come tell us what we're going to do. So what I'm saying is do we have the leadership in place that's going to say no more? That's what we need.